At www.spreaker.com, create your own radio show and find thousands of exclusive radio channels.
Here we are, guys. I'm here on the fifth episode of my wrestling radio show I do, and I'm very, very privileged and lucky tonight to be joined by Phil Sam, who many of your listeners will probably know, obviously. Phil, do you want to introduce yourself? Well, we better get straight in because there's a lot to talk about. Anyway, obviously we've both seen Monday's Raw.
An awful lot to talk about.
Yeah. Awful on the emphasis, but straight in. First of all, to start Raw off, we had AJ setting up the Raw Active match where Punk could either choose, not Punk could choose, but the audience could choose either Mysterio, Kane, or The Miz for him to face. And she also announced the Orton versus Big Show and Cena versus Daniel Bryan. What did you think of that, Phil? Straight away, start of the show.
Well, I didn't like how CM Punk was being portrayed as the coward, first of all. I mean, 8 months beforehand, he was considered as the fighting champion who would take on all comers, like Kane, Bryan, Mark Henry. He took them all on. And then suddenly, as soon as he starts facing The Rock, he suddenly turns into a coward, and suddenly he doesn't want anything to do with Cena or Big Show, even though, he took Cena with open arms, so it just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, it's a bit stupid, but again, it's WWE's lack of character development to a degree where there's no it's either wimpy heel or takes an all-comers face. There is no middle ground or anything different than that,
exactly.
Like you've mentioned before.
Exactly.
So that straight away portrays him as not weak champion, but that's going to annoy a lot. I know he's heel and his job's to annoy, but that annoys me personally at WWE, not CM Punk. But in terms of the Raw Active match, I suppose the opponent
much point, but I guess it's kind of treating to the casual to think that maybe I have a part in the show and maybe we're actually part of the show, and obviously try and hook viewers in.
Yeah, it's more just another to involve the crowd, but obviously moving on from that, we all know the results of the poll being that Rey Mysterio was chosen, so we're straight into the Raw Active match. But before I mention that, something that not that I don't understand, but something that I think they should do differently. They shouldn't have the active match immediately after the poll's been put out. Should wait until middle of the show, possibly even main event, before they announce the results. Otherwise, it don't give as many people a chance to have a vote in it.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well, because when I was watching it, I noticed that they were stalling quite a lot. I mean, Jerry Lawler was just talking about nothing really. They were obviously stalling while they tried to collect as much votes as possible. When they shouldn't have allowed the Raw Active match to be at the beginning of the show. They should have definitely done it. I mean, almost up to the end of the show to get the most votes as possible.
Yes, it was in terms of the match itself. I suppose it was an alright matchup. Something I'd not seen for obviously a while, if at all. I don't believe recalling seeing this match. But in the end, obviously CM Punk won after. He got hit with a 619 on the rope, but then the splash failed, and then he hit the GTS on Mysterio for the pin. But that was always going to happen. I didn't see Mysterio winning that, but. In terms of the match itself, what did you think of it?
Yeah, it was a decent match. I was thinking it was a decent match, but I remember thinking through it. If CM Punk doesn't beat Rey Mysterio clean, I'm gonna fume. Thankfully, they did allow CM Punk to beat Rey Mysterio cleanly, though. So otherwise, you'd be hearing a lot from me if Rey Mysterio had won, because I had that at the back of my mind, especially just 10 minutes beforehand. They were making CM Punk the cocky heel, so maybe they would have to make him cheat to win or something.
Yeah, no, it's just another match, really. Well, it was a good premise. I did like it. It's just a match to get Punk wrestling and entertaining the fans with Rey Mysterio. But overall, yeah, that weren't too bad. Moving on from that, we had something that I was very excited about seeing. We had the Wade Barrett return promo video package, in which he mentioned the Barrett barrage is coming, and it was kind of like a Fight Club scene. What did you think of that, Phil?
I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah. I think now they're just gonna go with this gimmick of the bare knuckle brawler kind of thing, or just re-emphasizing it as like the like kind of like a street fighter kind of, which I kind of like.
Yeah,
I like his new beard as well.
Yeah. Possibly see if they'll have an Irish versus English matchup. Well, I don't know. We'll see where they go with that. But yeah, I was I was first of all, I was happy because straight away I knew it was a Barrett promo. But overall, it was put together and put out quite well. In my opinion, I think SummerSlam will be his return. They'll have a couple more video packages and then he'll appear at SummerSlam in whatever reason. But it'll be definitely good to have him back. Go on, sorry.
Personally, I think he's gonna. I think he'll debut the night after SummerSlam. That's just what I'm sensing anyway.
Yeah, because then it's SummerSlam's gone and it's back in the build-up to, if I'm not mistaken, is it in October? Is it Night of Champions? Something like that.
Yeah.
Because I know November's Survivor Series, but yeah. So that will be. Hopefully he'll come back and he'll be put. Well, not an instant push into a title shot. He has to earn it, but hopefully he's going to be in and around the pack rather than being wasted in the mid card.
Hope so.
He was on a little bit of a push before he actually legitimately got injured. But after that, we had a little clip backstage where AJ seemed to get annoyed at Del Rio mentioning the word crazy and then putting him instantly in a match. But this. Go on.
And then obviously Alberto used the boot to get the win off Christian.
Yeah.
Which I think they're kind of de-pushing Christian now, because that's about 3 times he's lost in a 3 weeks or something like that. I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't see it as putting Del Rio over, to be honest. I'd see it as him just being used as a mid card.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know. Christian's better than mid card, but I suppose they don't have the potential or see what I see in him. But I can't really fault the Miz being the Intercontinental Champion, to be honest. I mean, it was probably the right decision to make him lose it, but sadly, it's cost Christian. Obviously, he's back in the mid card doing nothing. But in the match itself, obviously, it was another Del Rio match. Wasn't the greatest. Something that annoys me about Del Rio's matches is seems to be no matter who he faces in a normal match, he seems to make them tap within a second, which just makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, obviously, you want his finisher to look painful, but when you're having someone like Christian tap in a second, it just makes it no sense at all and looks stupid, in my opinion. But
I'm not really that bothered, but I see what you mean.
yeah, But moving on from that, really, obviously we had the setup to the whole stupid Sheamus steals his car line, but we had just after that we had Sheamus driving up. I'm not going to mention much about this because it did annoy me, but I have to say it.
I'm actually surprised because I actually quite enjoyed this. I mean, usually I'd probably hate this, but on this day, I don't know why, but I quite liked it, to be honest.
Well, everyone's entitled to opinion. I think it was more of the fact that Lawler and Cole completely killed the entire segment by just not shutting up about it. Every chance we got on commentary, it was Lawler saying he borrowed it and Cole saying he stole it, and that just infuriated me because I was sick of it by the end. But it was something different, I suppose. Again, it was another okay thing. It's just it was buried or killed as a segment by the commentary.
Yeah.
But that again is probably just more time filling.
I'm just going to mention something. Tony Hibbert has scored for Everton
Ha!
in a pre-season game.
There's a rarity. There's a very big rarity.
Yeah.
Moving back on topic, just to mention, the car was later returned in a complete mess and all rubbish like that. But back onto the actual wrestling, we had what was an interesting match. It involved Big Show and Randy Orton, not everyone's favourite people, but ended in a double count out. Obviously, it makes both men look strong, but something I was surprised about, they actually let Orton have the last laugh by letting him hit an RKO on Big Show, which seems to push Orton a little bit. But you know, the stupid giant push that Big Show's on at the moment. So, what did you think of it?
Anything that makes the Big Show look bad, I'm fine with. No matter who it's against. I don't care if it's Randy Orton, as long as he wasn't standing tall, which he was by the end of the night, which disappointed me. But on this stage of the show, I was just happy that Big Show was lying in the middle of the ring.
One way of looking at it, yeah. Sadly, I used to like Big Show, I will admit, but I'm just no. He's gone now. He should disappear either into putting people over or retirement. He's had his day.
Yeah.
But then there's something else that annoyed me to a degree was Ryback defeating Tyler Rex and Kurt Hawkins again, which means he's just going back in circles, runnishing around the undercard, which just annoyed me. What do you think about
that? Not really much to think of it, really. I knew he was going to win from the start anyway, because Tyler Rex and Kurt Hawkins were never going to win anyway. But I was fine with it, really. I admit I skipped this match anyway because I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, there's not much to be said. I just have to mention everything. Obviously, Ryback won. No surprises there. Again, moving on at speed, we had the Primo and Epico tag match against the Primetime Players, which ended in, well, I'd call it a distraction where Kofi and R-Truth came down right as Primetime Players were trying to escape, which obviously set up Primo and Epico for a win. But the tag team division as a whole is just so confusing to me at the moment. I don't know if it's a good thing, but I have no idea who should be number one contender. Because you'd think it would be the Primetime Players, then this week Primo and Epico beat them. It's a bit of a mess, really. I hope they do something credible with it. But what do you think about it? Do you think that?
Well, at least they're attempting to do some sort of tag division. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I really liked AEW's ringside work. I mean, he's just brilliant as a ringside manager. I mean, there's no one like him. Well, apart from maybe Jimmy Hart, but I mean, not in modern times anyway. But yeah, he's just brilliant at ringside with his little like cheerleading taunts and stuff. I just really like him, and that's why I like the Primetime Players so much.
Yeah, I do actually like the Primetime Players. Because obviously it's different, it's a bit fresh. I mean, I know the tag divisions are stale, but someone little added bonus like AW in the corner with a mic, something different, something I've not seen, as you mentioned. So I'm all for that. I don't know if I think I'd rather them having the belts, to be honest. I think Kofi and R-Truth are just two big names that have been pushed together. I think they need to add the emphasis on the younger tag team talent and build up a credible division rather than just shoving two good mid-carders together and saying, there's your tag champs.
Yeah, I agree, but it's going to be a lengthy progress either way. But I'm just happy that they're trying to make some sort of tag division.
Yeah, I'll give them brownie points for at least attempting something with it. But it's all right. it's an alright match to get all together. It just a bit of a surprise ending. I thought it was a primetime players win, so I'm always happy to see that. Then again, we had, well, Brodus Clay, meant to be Brodus Clay versus Sandow, which seems to be some kind of mid-card rivalry brewing, which, yeah, it's alright, as long as they don't use it too often and waste precious TV time. Something I'm all for, really. Obviously, Brodus Clay has now sadly become annoying and stale because he's been constantly doing the same thing, but, I mean, it was fun at first, but I'll never forget the fact he's just basically ripped off, well, not him personally, but he's just ripped off Ernest the Cat Miller. That's just what that reminds me. But the whole thing's
it's kind
just
of a mix between Ernest the Cat Miller and the Godfather, really. But the Godfather did it so much better because, one, I mean, he was just less annoying. Two, there was less emphasis on the dancers and the girls, because the girls didn't serve any purpose at all. I mean, they don't speak, they don't do anything. So what's the point of putting any emphasis on them at all? They should just have. He should just have different people every time, in my opinion. And the Godfather was just more likable, I guess.
Yeah, he was different era, obviously.
Maybe, I've grown older. They will try their best to bring on Charlie Sheen, but I think that's almost pivotal to the whole match, because what's the point of Daniel Bryan facing Kane if it isn't for... I mean, Kane isn't really there for any reason anyway, so Charlie Sheen being there is pivotal and essential, really.
Yeah, definitely. I might be slightly biased because obviously it's been mentioned before, I'm a big fan of Charlie Sheen in general. I love the guy, but I'm not usually, because again I might be biased, I'm not usually for celebrity involvement. It has its place, but it's not something that should be used based solely on to get ratings. Like I think they did a bit with Charlie Sheen. You shouldn't just use him to literally just pull people in. But we'll see what they do with that. It adds an extra dimension to the match. But moving on from that announcement, we moved straight into, well, the return of Kelly Kelly defeating Eve in a small little diva match. Again, not much to be said, but was this one you skipped, Phil?
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously we heard Jerry Lawler being a pedo once again. I mean, he used to be much better at it 10 years ago, but I mean, if you're going to be the pedo, I mean, at least go the whole way and be a heel as well.
Yeah, a face pedo just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, trying to move through the crap with pace because obviously we don't need to have a discussion for 5 minutes about Kelly Kelly returning.
No.
That would just waste our time, but finally, well, not finally, because we saw him on the 1000th Raw, but then next we had the first appearance of Shawn Michaels, which is meant to be Shawn Michael Appreciation Night. So it was a little bit weird, the fact that was the first appearance and only appearance we had of him on TV, I may add, because I know he was there after it, but shows how much he's really appreciated when he gets, 10 minutes of airtime on his Appreciation Night. But that was just basically him revealing that he's on Triple H's side. No one really expected any different. Again, a little bit of confrontation, bit of a build-up. I think this was really a wasted appearance by Lesnar, to be honest. He had no need to be there. I was just shocked that he actually spoke on the mic. But there was a little bit of a threat.
I think
that he'd see HBK before SummerSlam. What do you have to say, sorry?
Yeah, I think the only reason why they kind of did it was, one, to semi-promote their WWE breaking news text service or something like that. Because I remember Michael Cole saying that, so maybe they're trying to put people, get people to sign up for that or something. But obviously we can all get them from wrestling forums and stuff, that news. Also because they were in San Antonio, which is Shawn Michaels' hometown, so I think they kind of just brought him along. Just because they're in the hometown. I thought that Brock Lesnar was going to go in and just completely destroy HBK, but yeah, I know
But Chris Jericho's commentary made that match so much better. Anyone really makes the match better at the moment instead of Cole and King constantly. I'm just so bored of that commentary duel. But we aside Chris Jericho being Chris Jericho and going a bit back to his old ways by, well, what looked like purposely missaying Michael Cole's name. Which a lot of people have picked up on, and then fooling around with his needless promotion of tout crap yet again. But it was
the
fun.
first time tout was actually bearable, because I mean that was probably the best tout ever to have to film. Dolph Ziggler getting beat by Alex Riley.
Yeah.
I mean that's the first tout I have actually enjoyed, apart from the A-Tray one.
Oh well, I didn't see that infamous. It was a bad week last week, WWE, for insulting people.
Yeah.
That was just, again, absolute stupidity. I have no idea why Matt Bloom and his infinite wisdom decided that would be an intelligent thing to put on WWE's new promoting video thing. But, hey, he must have took many blows to the head in his time. So, we had that crap little...
Yeah.
Well, that match, I'm glad Alex Riley won that. I'm glad they made Ziggler go over to a shock upset to a degree. Because obviously it just had more fuel that Ziggler was showing off as he does best, and Jericho got one over on him. Which I'm all for. But the thing I'm a little worried about is, to my knowledge, Jericho's last Raw appearance is on the 13th. So would that mean after SummerSlam he's gone? I'm not too sure what they're going to do. I don't know how long he's off for. I just know he's off for a break with Fozzy again, but I don't know what the time length for that is.
I'm pretty sure he's going to be gone after SummerSlam.
Do you have any idea how long it'll be?
I think he might come back for next year's WrestleMania or never. But, I mean, to be honest, he hasn't been a huge addition to the Raw roster anyway, so it's not going to be a catastrophic loss, really.
Well, no, I understand what you're saying. But I'm just a big fan of Jericho, and I know a lot of people are, so I'm always happy to see him. But sadly, yeah, I don't think I'll see him for a while after SummerSlam. So fill your boots with this Ziggler Jericho feud while you've got it. Any Jericho fans out there? But
I definitely think that Ziggler will go over, and he'll probably post-match he'll probably beat Jericho and like break his arm or break his neck or something like that. So they can write him off TV.
Can you imagine that though? What if Dolph Ziggler breaking Chris Jericho's neck or something absolutely stupid? You just don't imagine it coming from Ziggler, do you?
This is Spreaker Web Radio.
Hi guys, and we're back with the second part of tonight's show where I'm joined by Phil Sam. We seem to be having a few technical problems, so I apologise if it isn't very clear or because Phil doesn't seem to be hearing me very well. I don't know for whatever reason that'll be, but hopefully we can carry on and have a good show. But moving on from where we ended on the last part, we now have the Kane versus the Miz match, in which Kane defeated him, but it was a non-title match, which was just basically throwing together the two people that weren't picked on Raw Active. What did you think about that, Phil?
There wasn't really any point of the match at all, to be honest. I mean, they just kind of hooked Kane and Miz up together for no reason whatsoever. I would have thought that maybe Daniel Bryan might interfere or something, or cost Kane the match, but obviously that didn't happen. And I'm not happy at all that The Miz had to lose as well, since he is the Intercontinental Champion, and he shouldn't be defeated clean when he's the Intercontinental Champion. And now he just looks as weak as ever, which I really don't understand why. Because April 2011, or around that time, Miz was on top of the world, and now suddenly, around a year later, he's just been pushed to nothingness.
Continental Champion, why aren't you getting a title shot?
But I think it would prove more effective if Miz was actually a strong champion, and he had had the Intercontinental Championship for about 5 months. Then maybe it would have more of an impact. But he's only been champion for 2 weeks, so it's just completely ineffectual to have some random wrestler be the champion.
Yeah, I didn't really understand the point. You know, so it was alright. I suppose it was random, but I didn't mind it being random. It was just a one-off matchup, something a little bit entertaining. The end could have been a bit better, like instead of just a choke slam for a win for Kane. But overall, yeah, it weren't too bad as a matchup. But then we had the main event. When I was watching this live, I didn't think this was the main event. I still thought there was something to come for some strange reason. Do you seem to recall it being billed as the main event, or have I just missed something?
I think it was. I think AJ announced it kind of like the main event at the start of the show, but they didn't say it formally that it would be the main event. But I think it was kind of assumed that it would be.
Oh well.
It would be closing it.
Super Cena, innit? In terms of match, yeah, go on. Sorry.
I would have much preferred if CM Punk and versus Rey Mysterio was the main event, and they swapped it around because the WWE Championship champion is supposed to be closing the show, so it doesn't really make any sense. I would have liked Daniel Bryan and John Cena to open the show as well, instead.
Well, just like CM Punk's supposedly fighting for at the moment, that rightly so, the champion should end the show. But I suppose that they didn't do it to add fuel a bit more to the storyline, like not giving in to his wishes, so to speak, making him the first matchup to take the mick a little bit. But as a match, I suppose it weren't no special main event by any stretch of the imagination. It was just okay in parts, but then obviously we had the whole Big Show debacle anyway, but they had to get a clean John Cena win in there before they did anything.
Yeah, again, I don't know, what's the point of John Cena winning clean? If he wins clean over Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan obviously doesn't get the win, which lowers his credibility. He has so much more to gain from either a draw or maybe a cheap win over John Cena rather than Cena getting a clean win. There's just no point of it at all.
I'm sure he has it written in his contract that he has to win clean a certain amount of times a year. He must do.
That's stupid. That's stupid.
It is. There's no idea what gains from that other than people just cheering because Cena won. Probably because Daniel Bryan's the heel, that's probably why. But
and Daniel Bryan has, if you think about it, Daniel Bryan hasn't won in ages.
Nope.
So, I mean, even though he's at the top of the world at the moment, with all the yes chants and the no, well, he's trying to get everyone to say no, or just not chant anything. and obviously the crowd are screaming yes, which is good for him because he's obviously getting crowd reaction, but he hasn't had a win in a long time, so I mean he should be getting a cheap win here or something. I don't know, CM Punk costed John Cena the match or something. But
Anything.
I didn't like the ending.
Anything, yeah, we'll move on to the ending now, but anything that got Daniel Bryan a win, whether it DQ or what, well, so Cena's not going to get disqualified, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, we had CM Punk, obviously, with his little speech to Jerry Lawler again. Sad thing is, everything he says is true, he's just being portrayed to say it as a whiny bitch. So,
yeah, exactly.
He loses a bit of credibility. Well, not credibility, he loses a bit of respect. But that's just sadly the way WWE want to portray him at the moment. Suddenly he just woke up one morning and thought, yeah, I'm going to whinge about everything and not defend again in a triple threat when I would have done it 2 weeks ago. But, I don't know.
Exactly, it's just stupid.
So we had him going on, and then obviously we had Big Show down there just deciding, let's appear. I've not had enough TV time tonight when I got beat back, well not beat, but when I got RKO'd by Randy Orton, let's just randomly appear in the main event because I can. If you just appear at random times, you get title shots.
Yeah, exactly, that's just WWE logic really, which is obviously very flawed.
Yeah, but then we had Punk obviously trying to prove the point, because obviously at this point Cena was getting, well, laid out near enough, and Daniel Bryan was after the match laid out, and then we had Punk trying to hit some form, I think it was a roundhouse kick or kick on Big Show, but just getting WMD'd. That was a bit of a surprise, to be honest. But just absolute stupidity. I don't understand how you can go from being I know it's Randy Orton, but I don't understand how you go from being RKO'd and knocked out yourself to appearing in the main event and taking out the champion and one of the #1 contenders.
The fact he's even in the main event is just stupid. The way he's even entered the main event is just horrific beyond belief. I mean, he gets fired by John Laurinaitis, and then he gets rehired for absolutely no reason, even though he could have easily cost Laurinaitis the match against Cena over the limit, and he would have got rehired by the next general manager, that's guaranteed. And instead, he just re-signs with the man who made him beg on his knees just six days earlier. It makes absolutely no sense. And now suddenly he's in the main event, and now he's getting WWE Championship shots. I mean, what's the point?
It's all this ironclad bullshit crap, though, isn't it? That
Yeah, exactly.
he's apparently getting paid a lot more to be a dick and appear at random times. It's just
hugging in the middle of the ring at the end of WrestleMania. How does that end? How does that end wrestling, the wrestling industry? Thirdly, who is he to say that these guys don't have any talent and they don't draw? Because like Chris Jericho said on his tweet, when WWF was he didn't draw anything, and the fact that the WCW cruiserweights were the start of WCW Nitro, and that's what kind of got them through it. It was almost the perfect complementary stuff when you've got the stars of NWO and Sting and Lex Luger, and then you have the cruiserweights, and it's the perfect mix. And then once the cruiserweights obviously left WCW, when they realised they weren't being appreciated and they weren't going to get any push. Powerhouses obviously ended WCW, so he's just completely wrong anyway. And guys like him, basically, I mean, he can't wrestle. All he can do is talk. But what's the point of being a wrestler if all you can do is talk? Because if you want to hire a wrestler who can just talk, why don't you just hire a Hollywood actor? They'll do a great job. All you have to do is just hire some big, some Hollywood actor with huge muscles, and there you go, you've got a wrestler. But there's the thing that separates him from Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit is that Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero can put on great matches. Only very select few people can actually put on great matches, and Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan and Scott Hall, they couldn't put on great matches like they could. Well, that's my little outburst.
Well, Kevin Nash, yeah. But yeah, completely agree with it, with everything. Everything you say. I have no idea why he decided to. Well, obviously he got interviewed, but I have no idea why he just suddenly decided to outburst slating two, sadly rest in peace, former WWE legends. I mean, putting aside everything that happened, we'll ignore the situations because otherwise we'd be here all night debating that. But what gives him the right to, like you've mentioned, decide that because he's 6 foot something and he's built quite well, that he's instantly better in ring performer, in mic performer, overall entertainer than two of the greatest and most charismatic technical wrestlers ever? I have no idea why he just decided to suddenly declare that fact. And obviously, when the facts have been presented to him, it doesn't bode well for him, like you mentioned. That when he was champion, the draw was pretty damn low, compared to WrestleMania 2000, which obviously was when that scene that he mentioned was happening. It was quite a big thing. It was quite a big buy-in and pull. But I think, and I don't know why, he's just trying to generate heat for himself from WWE fans, because he's always been like that. I read fully into the whole article, and he's always been like, he's very political in the things that he does, because I know now that he's currently trying to pursue a movie career, whether that's going to be successful or not. So I think, obviously, the old expression, any publicity is publicity, whether it's negative or positive. I think the whole outburst is really just to piss a lot of people off, so his name gets people get talking about his name again like we are, and it possibly gets him a little more back on the scene and in work. Because obviously all we know him for is a stupid appearance at, was it SummerSlam last year? I can't remember. When he just came back and basically levelled Punk, reintroduced himself. Hi, I'm this guy that's not been relevant for 10 years? Exactly like what Punk said to him. One of the funniest moments obviously being when he read out that text he supposedly got from his sister. I know that's obviously not going to be legit, but still that was quite a comical moment on Punk's part. But again, it's just, I have no idea. I don't want to compare him to Big Show, but he just seems to be, Big Show and him are similar in the fact they're just big men now. that seem to have very little talent, that seem to think, well, I know Big Show might be portraying it this way, but Kevin Nash is actually being this guy that seems to think he knows it all because he's been there, 20 plus years ago. Similar to Vince McMahon in the fact he doesn't seem to know what WWE is nowadays. Go on, Phil.
I think it's also kind of butthurt that, butthurt is really the word to say. That even when he tried to return to the wrestling industry in the mid 2000s, that he couldn't draw and he couldn't actually get into that main event, and instead they pushed guys over him like Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Benoit. So I think he's just really, really jealous of them that they can wrestle and they could draw, and he couldn't. All he was the third wheel in the NWO. I mean, when everyone remembers the NWO, they're going to remember Hulk Hogan first of all, not Kevin Nash. So he's never ever been the star of the show in any wrestling organisation, even in his 20 years at the top. Also, his porno comparison was just ridiculous. I mean, what the hell was he thinking?
I honestly thought he was drunk at that point. I have no idea what references to 3-inch penises and porn has anything to do with Eddie Guerrero or Chris Benoit. I don't know if that was a dig trying to say they were small or not very well endowed. I have no idea, but that's just nonsensical ramblings from a madman. That was just, reading it, I was just laughing to myself, saying, what are you doing, Kevin Nash? He's just made himself look more of an idiot than many people know him to be. But again, I believe he is an idiot, but I believe he's clever on a level because, like I said, he's been very political in the fact, as he's always been. Because a few wrestlers have noted that he's backstage, like when he was at WCW, he had quite a good contract, he even had a clause in it, I believe, that if anyone new was brought into WCW and they had a better wage than him, that Nash's wage would instantly reflect that. So he's always been political and knows how to negotiate his way around the contract and stuff like that. But again, it's just complete crap. The amount, obviously, us, the fans, obviously, know what wrestling is now and we watch it. You've got good stuff at the moment in TNA, WWE, some big Ring of Honor. You've got the new talent, stuff like you CM Punk, your Daniel Bryans and stuff. It's like back then when he was wrestling, the new people were like the people like Benoit and Eddie Guerrero coming through. They were different to him, so he probably felt threatened by that because wrestling originally, probably when he started was just, you know what I mean, a big, well, good-looking guy game. But there's always going to be new things and new trends coming into the sport. Well, if you call it a sport, but I think I think it's a bit like you say, jealousy. He originally felt threatened when they came in, and he's never really forgot that fact. But there's nothing wrong at all with what happened at WrestleMania 20. That details. I don't want to ramble on about something I'm unfamiliar with because I might be wrong, but I do seem to recall that they got in trouble for showing emotion, but obviously Shawn Michaels at the time was a champion, so he couldn't be touched, and the other two had just left the WF, so Triple H got lambasted and basically pushed down to being a jobber. But the influence of that was he lost his push and Stone Cold Steve Austin took his push, and when he won the King of the Ring, which obviously gave birth to one of the most influential men of that era of wrestling. So, Kevin Nash being Kevin Nash, just being an absolute idiot. But have you got much more to say on that, Phil? Have you got more rant left in you?
I think everything that has been said has really been said. Just rot in hell, Kevin Nash. No one likes you. Just go away.
Never appear again. disobey back to your house.
Just go get on drugs like Scott Hall, then you can be in rehab together.
You really don't like the guy, do you?
No, I
Good.
never have, never will. Like Big Show. I was happy to see him back. Momentum.
Yeah.
And then obviously the disastrous feud.
And then,
And obviously he was supposed to be scheduled to face CM Punk at Night of Champions, and then he wasn't fit enough, so they replaced him with Triple H, and then they kept postponing his match until somehow he faced Triple H at by then no one cared about the storyline at all, and then eventually Triple H won, and then Nash just went away.
yeah, they're meant to be. I don't know if this is legit, but they're meant to be good friends backstage. And again, Triple H's ego took over, and he buried him, which again made no sense. What the hell has Triple H gained by beating Nash in that match? Back all the way last year. Absolutely nothing at all.
Yeah, I just hope his ego doesn't get in the way of SummerSlam, because he has nothing else to prove. I mean, he's already semi-retired. What's the point of winning a match now? There's no point. He's had all the success he can possibly get. I mean, just right after the sunset, put some younger guys over for once, and just retire, like at next year's WrestleMania or something.
Well, I was having this discussion today. What involvement really can Triple H have in WrestleMania 29? Who could he possibly face, or what could he do? I don't see anything that springs to mind.
No, neither do I. But I don't know. Maybe a DX reunion. I don't know, Evolution reunion, some sort of reunion. But there's no point. Or I don't know. Maybe some like up and coming young heel can possibly like challenge him as COO or something. Like kind of like that what they did with Sheamus with WrestleMania 26, where Sheamus just picks on Triple H and said, "I want to fight you," and then Triple H says, "Okay," and then maybe make it a retirement match or something.
Yeah, but similar to the type of match Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels had. You can't really have career versus career, can you? Versus Sheamus versus Triple H. You can have, if Triple H loses, his career's over. Like I said, what Ric Flair was. But can you imagine if they did something as stupid as something like a career versus career match, Sheamus versus Triple H?
No, definitely don't do that. Definitely don't do career versus career. That's ridiculous.
I can seriously imagine if that. I know it wouldn't happen, but Triple H going off script and burying Sheamus, which then you just have to get rid of Sheamus, which would be absolute stupidity. I don't trust Triple H, to be honest.
Well, he has put over some people. Like he put over Chris Benoit twice in 2004. He put over Batista in WrestleMania. He has put over John Cena as well. So he hasn't buried everyone along the way, but obviously he kept everyone under his foot when he was World Heavyweight Champion. Because there wasn't any stars that were proper faces that were made. For any proper faces that were made in 2002 to 2004.
Yeah, but he is obviously notoriously known as King of Burying. But yeah, he does. He has, like you say, put over the very few people. But I just, like you say, unless there's somebody like like you mentioned, Sheamus, that's somebody new and fresh that comes out and challenges him. And I see nothing that he can do other than just keep appearing every year, which is going to get stale. And you really need to call it time now. I mean, I know The Undertaker is similar to him, and he possibly hasn't got a lot left, but he's not Triple H. I'd love to see Undertaker anytime. Whereas Triple H, if I just kept seeing him versus somebody else every WrestleMania or every big pay-per-view event, I'd get a bit bored of it. But it's just, we shall see, as always, what WWE Creative come up with for us.
Yeah.
But we have a little bit of time left. I think a couple of minutes. So if we can just, I won't be able to answer them all, I'm afraid, but we've got a couple of questions here. Something I ask most of my guests that come on. Phil, what's your favourite wrestling moment ever?
I think it's going to be Rock beating Cena at WrestleMania 28, just because it was so unpredictable and it was just amazing. I just remember just jumping out of my seat, screaming all over the place because I just couldn't believe it. I was so happy. But that's my WWE one. But I have to mention my TNA one, which is really recent. Austin Aries beating Bobby Roode at Destination X. I told every single one of you on the wrestling page that it could happen. No one believed me, and then I was proved right.
Yeah, I even watched that pay-per-view, which is so unknown for me to watch a TNA pay-per-view, but me obviously not knowing a great deal about TNA, not watching actively, I even loved that moment. But that was because as it got closer and closer, I believe he did change a few people's opinions, but overall, yeah, no one believed they did. No one believed you, did they? But I don't watch it. If you want to fill us in on how Aries has been doing since, because I sadly don't.
Champion, but basically Bobby Roode has been calling it a fluke, so now they're going to have a rematch at Hardcore Justice. But there's not really much to say. I mean, it's just the usual, number one contender versus champion rematch feud, really. But I just love him. I love Austin Aries so much. He should be what CM Punk is today, which is a heel being great, but just lacking heel.
Former in all terms from what I've seen. I remember his debut the year before. But am I right? Just dead quick. Am I right in thinking Hardcore Justice is this Sunday? Am I correct in thinking that?
Yes, this Sunday.
Yeah, I think I might be giving that a watch, to be fair. Last question I think we'll have time for, as we really are running out of time now, but in the last 30 seconds possibly if you can, what type of wrestler would you want to be, e.g. a high flyer or a powerhouse, or, well, you know the wrestling.
High flyer. I've always loved being a high flyer. AJ Styles,
yeah, he's
high flyer.
Fantastic performer himself. Seen a bit of him from his original day in TNA. I saw a bit of that interview of him pushing to get a TNA pay-per-view over here. That would be fantastic as well for any TNA fans, including yourself. But
I'd be first ticket buyer.
Oh yeah, and there'd be an awful lot of people from this country behind you, but sadly I think that's all we've got time for tonight, as we're into the last seconds I can allow. But all I want to do is thank Phil very, very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to have him. I hope he enjoyed himself. And as always, thank anyone listening now live and anyone that may listen in the future. And I hope you've enjoyed what we've had to say tonight. Hopefully you'll listen in again in the future. Thanks guys, bye.